How often do you look around and think, how the hell did I get here? I mean, one day you're just vibing, feeling like you have all the time in the world. And next thing you realize, you wake up, you're in your 30s, and somehow there's this looming pressure because you're supposed to have it all figured out by now. You're supposed to be someone, be somewhere successful, stable, living the dream, whatever that means. And the wild part is, you would think I spent the past decade partying with no plan in mind, like I wasn't out here actually doing things. Like I wasn't working, creating, and in a way living my best fucking life. But when life forces us to pivot and start over, it's easy to look back and start questioning our life decisions. Start to feel like we've lost years. With time as irreplaceable as it is, who can really afford to lose it building a life you thought was meant for you? So if you're currently feeling behind or somehow like you missed your turn in life, I need you to hear this. You're not as lost as you think. But let's get into why we actually feel behind. A lot of it comes down to comparison and societal timelines and all of those little arbitrary deadlines we're supposed to meet. Graduate at 22, have your career unlocked by 25, be married with kids before 30, own property, have a savings, have investments, all while looking effortlessly every time we leave the house. And it makes me ask the question, who even made these rules? And why didn't they factor things in like recessions, a terrible job market, insane student loans, and the sheer cost of living? I mean, have you seen the price of eggs? What is happening? I know for me personally, I felt very confident about the path that I was on in my mid to late 20s. My career in the film industry was blossoming. My creative contributions were increasing. My debt was at a minimum. My savings was overflowing. I was traveling to my heart's content and able to treat myself and my loved ones to certain luxuries. I was even planning big life milestones like buying and renovating my first home, investing in stocks and property, creating product prototypes for my business, planning for marriage, for children, for our future. You know, all of those fun big life plans. And making those plans while being in my late 20s felt like I was on the right path, like I was moving at the right time. And of course, I know all of these things are still possible and are still going to happen. But when you spend 7 years building a very specific career and then are forced to pivot and start from what feels like the bottom, while it seems like everyone's taking the next step, there's this nagging feeling like you took the scenic route while everyone else stayed on the highway to success. But that's when we have to stop and ask ourselves, am I really falling behind, or am I just on a different timeline than the one I was conditioned to believe in? Because here's the truth. There's no single road to success. There's no one path that we have to follow. Instead of worrying about where you should be, ask yourself, what kind of life would really excite me? If I could dream with wild abandonment, what kind of life would I create? As I've said before, success isn't about checking a bunch of boxes. It's about building a life that feels good. And I mean feels good in our body as well as on like a metaphysical level, energetically. And I know we talked about this a few weeks ago when we redefined our vision for success, but I realized we can't really redefine that vision for success without addressing these feelings of feeling like we're behind. So let's address the elephant in the room. This idea that if you aren't where you thought you'd be by now, you've somehow wasted time. I used to beat myself up over past decisions, like if I just done X sooner, maybe I'd be further ahead by now. And if I'm being very honest, I still do that. You know, I'm human, I'm not perfect, and there are times where I still even question if I did or didn't do X, where would I be right now and how would life look and feel different? But if that was what I was supposed to do or not do, it would have happened and I'd be living that path of life. But I'm on this one because I'm supposed to be. I'm where I'm supposed to be always, all the time, at the right time, but it doesn't always feel that way. And so it's very normal, very human to start questioning your decision making skills. For me, it's like if I had taken a more traditional and a less creative career path, or if I had made some more financially responsible decisions in the past, where would I be right now? But that kind of thinking only sends us into a spiral. It only creates a pattern of overthinking and expecting and envisioning the worst and creating these realities that don't even exist. But the anxiety and feelings that we have from those realities become very real and they start sitting in our bodies. So here's what I realized: no life experience is ever wasted. Obviously, no life experience is ever wasted, but I really want you to sit and think about what that means. No life experience is ever wasted. And I know that can seem like some BS to say, especially if your life experience has been crap, especially if you've been dealt the hand from hell. But I do think that things happen and they shape us. I don't think they happen to shape us, but we are shaped by the things that happen. I don't necessarily think things happen for a reason, but they happen and we adapt accordingly. We have to adapt accordingly. And how we adapt to those things is obviously up to us and our control, but it's also up to how we were raised and how we were preconditioned and the things that we were taught to believe in. Every detour, every so called mistake, every relationship that failed, or every job that we hated, all taught us something and all led us to where we are right now. Sometimes that means having to take accountability for our own actions or inactions that have contributed to where we are right now. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we're behind. It just means that we were on a course and now we're on another one, and now we have to figure out this new path. But as long as we're in a position to learn, we're in a position to grow, and we're in a position to gain. I actually saw a thread posted by her 30s account, and I want to read it to you guys. Women in their 30s will be like, "Ugh, I don't know what I'm doing," and then get a degree, go on a solo trip across the world, learn 3 new languages, do a 30-day gut reset, start therapy, a side hustle, and a skincare routine that costs more than their rent. Like, love, you do know. And I cracked up when I read that because if I'm being real with myself, I know the next step. I know I'm not behind, and I know that my past only informs where I'm going. But that doesn't mean that sometimes becomes cloudy and unclear in moments of anxiety, in moments of overwhelm, in moments of overthinking and spiraling. Who can remember that? But that's where practices like journaling and breathing and talking to people that we love and trust come into play, right? Because if we sat and held all those things all the time just with ourselves, there is no solution, there is no end, there is no way out. We have to give ourselves those moments of relief, those moments of expression, those moments of expelling that energy. And don't get me wrong, even though I know what the next step is and I feel like I have an idea of where I'm going, it doesn't mean I'm not afraid to take that next step. Because what if 7 years from now I am exactly where I am today or worse? And I think back like, dang, was this the step? Was this the wrong step? Was this the misstep? But again, we have to catch ourselves when we're thinking that way. We can't think of it as more time wasted, but we have to shift our mindsets from I should be further ahead, did I make the right choices in life, to everything in my past has prepared me for where I'm going. Because we weren't actually wasting time. We were learning and growing and becoming the version of ourselves that is prepared to handle what's next. So instead of looking at the past with regret, I challenge you to look back at it and show it some respect. Give it some gratitude and humble yourself a bit. Enjoy this long pause and learn what's necessary from this current transition, because when the next cycle starts, who knows when it will end? Who knows when you'll have this time again? You might end up looking back and wishing that you took the time to relearn yourself, to properly prepare and to understand the lessons that life has been trying to teach you right now. So now that it's clear that we aren't behind, nor have we wasted time, we now have to learn our own pace. And this was a big one for me because I love a good plan. I love knowing exactly where I'm going, exactly when I'm going to arrive, and exactly how I'm going to get there. But life be lifing, and sometimes we just have to be okay with figuring this shit out as we go. The other day, I actually came across a post on Imani's page about what to do when you need to make a big life decision. And for those of you who don't know Imani, she is the creative genius behind Creative Collective NYC and CultureCon. And if you don't know what those are, find Google, find Instagram, find TikTok, find your favorite search engine, and catch up. I feel like I came across that information at the right time because I'm currently at a place in life where I have a few different path options before me, and I'm trying to figure out what the right path to take is, but I can't even figure out what the next best step is. So she recommended something called Odyssey planning, and I want to read to you guys about what that is. Odyssey planning is a visual framework to help you visualize different life scenarios. You virtually try them on and then use that visualization to take your next best step. Coined by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans at the Stanford Design School, Imani uses this tool every time she needs to make a big decision but doesn't know what to do. And I was like, wow, I too need to make a big decision and don't know what to do. I've never heard of Odyssey planning or these lovely men, so let me do a little research. Let me find out what that is. But to save you the time and practice, I will one, link Imani's Instagram post here. But two, I'll walk you through a little bit of what it means to do some Odyssey planning because I'd love to challenge all of us to try it and see what becomes of it. So first, start by grabbing a sheet of paper and dividing it into 3 equal sections and labeling those 3 sections accordingly. One with the option for the path you're currently on. Next, with the alternate path you're considering, aka your exciting plan B. And last, the option that most speaks to your heart's desires. The plan that has no limits, the one where you dream with wild abandon. Then write down your pros and cons for each option, along with your best and worst case scenario for each decision. Lastly, rate each option out of 5, with 5 being the one that gets you the most excited. Finally, read and reflect on everything you wrote down. Feel out the option that your mind, heart, and body are most drawn to. Feel the one that brings you the most excitement, that makes you feel giddy, that makes you blush and makes you feel like a child on the inside. And go with that option. And I know that option will come with fear, but just wait. When you decide to take the option that brings you the most excitement, but also stirs within you that bit of fear, the confidence and the courage that you'll gain on the other side, the amount of pride that you will have in yourself will all be worth it. Then we'll check in about everything next week. I promise I will do it too, and I will update you guys on my findings. But we have to stop waiting for the perfect moment because at the end of the day, clarity comes from action, not overthinking. And I don't mean to attack you, but somewhere somebody needs to hear that because I needed to hear it my damn self. And while master plans are lovely, we really need to just think about what the next best small step is. And don't get me wrong, like I said, I love a good plan, especially planning something from start to finish. But there's no point in creating this grand master plan if you can't even figure out the next step to take, or worse, if you figured out the next step to take, but won't allow yourself to actually take it because fear is standing here like a wall in your face. This is not severance. You know who you are. You're connected to yourself always, okay? You know what's up. You know what time it is. You know. Only you know for yourself, and only I know for myself. We have to trust the pace and the timing that makes the most sense for both our present realities and the future lives that we want. Because the lag season is meant for rest. It's where you do all your planning and preparation for what's next. So if you're dealing with a setback, trust that it's part of the process and part of your larger testimony, as I am constantly reminded in my own life. At the end of the day, we don't need to rush. We don't need to catch up. We just need to keep going because that is the difference between the life you want and the life you have. It's a difference between keep going or stopping and having a bunch of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. So again, if you are feeling behind or like you lost time, I hope this gave you a bit of peace. You're not lost. You're just in a chapter where you don't have all the answers yet. And that's okay. But here's something to sit with. If no one was watching and no one's outside input mattered, what would life look like for you moving forward? Of course, sound off in the comments. Let me know. I'm a little nosy and I would love to hear what that means for you guys. For me, life would be very carefree, very playful, very out of the box, but also very stable and very grounded and secure. I am a juxtaposition of many things, and so I know my future that has no one else's input in it is a juxtaposition of many things, and it encompasses all of who I am, and it speaks to all of who I'm becoming, but it also speaks to the kind of examples I want to set for my youngest siblings and my future children. So if this resonated with you at all, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn them post notifications on. And as I've said before, this channel is all about embracing the messy but beautiful journey that we call life while growing through all the chaos. And with that, I will see you in the next one. See you next week. Bye.